My sibling accused me of shattering their world, claiming I forced them to move in with our parents. In response, I told them to get out. They'd been living in my house for 7 months without contributing a cent. Later, at our parents' home, they labeled me selfish. 2 weeks ago, my family exploded in a way I'm still struggling to process. I've read similar stories online, generous offers to house family members spiraling into chaos. I used to think such things were impossible. Not in real life, not to ordinary people, but I've learned otherwise. It happens, and it stings worse when it's your own kin. My sister, let's call her Amy, called me 7 months ago, sobbing. She and her partner, let's say Tom, were being evicted from their apartment in Boise over lease disputes, unpaid rent, and landlord clashes. Tom had been jobless for months, leaving them with nowhere to go. They had a 10-year-old daughter, Lily, whom I'd always tried to treat kindly. Amy pleaded to stay at my place in Nampa for a short time. I agreed without a second thought. I didn't dwell on it. I just renovated the spare room in my house. Single, working from home full-time, and living alone, it felt like the right move. That decision still haunts me. At first, they acted grateful, or at least put on a show. I told them not to worry about rent or bills, just focus on getting back on their feet. That was my first mistake. When you give people a free ride, some forget what appreciation looks like. Tom made zero effort to find work. I mean it, not a single try. He spent his days playing video games and cranking music in my garage. One day, I came home to find he'd turned it into a hangout spot, complete with string lights, folding chairs, and a neon sign blaring grind mode. I still don't know what he was grinding for. Amy picked up a part-time online gig but kept using my debit card, swearing she'd repay me when her paycheck came. Within days, Lily started scribbling on my walls with permanent markers, stars, and random doodles. I repainted the living room. She did it again, and again. She also cut up my couch pillows to make a fort. Amy shrugged it off, saying she was just creative. I covered everything. Food, utilities, school supplies, clothes for Lily, even a pet lizard Tom brought home one day for Lily's emotional development. It escaped after 2 days. I found it in my laundry basket. I was spending $5,000 to $7,000 a month to sustain this madness. They treated my home like an all-inclusive getaway. Then came the tipping point. 5 weeks ago, I walked into my office to find Lily streaming a loud Roblox session with friends on my work computer. She'd spilled juice on the keyboard and covered it with a rag to hide it. Amy blamed me for not locking it. That same week, I got a Venmo alert. Tom had sold my camera, one I'd saved for months to buy. When I confronted him, he said he thought I was done with it. That's when it sank in. They had no plans to leave. Ever. I gave them 2 weeks to get out. No yelling, no arguments. I even offered to cover a deposit if they found a new place. Tom acted like I'd banished them to the wilderness. Amy stayed quiet, staring daggers as if I'd stabbed them in the back. 2 weeks later, they left. No cleaning, no gratitude, just gone. They moved to our parents' place nearby. After they left, I found dried spaghetti in the rug, a broken closet rod, and a cracked sink that wobbles when you touch it. I thought the worst was over. Then, 2 days later, I went to my parents for dinner, and things unraveled in ways I never expected. 2 days after they moved out, I pulled up to my childhood home, hoping for calm. I didn't want to fight. I told myself that with them out of my house, I'd let it go. No bitterness. I just wanted peace. Maybe, deep down, I hoped for some recognition of what I'd done. The house looked the same tidy lawn, same crack in the driveway from 2004. But the moment I walked in, I knew I'd misjudged the mood. They were already seated at the table. My mom was overdoing it with food, trying to keep things civil. Amy wouldn't look at me. Tom gave a smug grin like he'd outsmarted me. Lily was glued to a tablet, blasting cartoon sounds that filled the room. It started quietly. My mom asked how they were settling in. Amy launched into a tale of hardship and the challenges of raising a child while feeling like an intruder. She didn't name me, but the jab was obvious. Tom piled on, sneering about how some people get to live alone, free of burdens. I sat there as they spun the past 7 months into a story where they were the victims and I was the villain. Amy called it degrading, saying they'd felt unwanted in my home. I almost laughed until Tom called my house hostile. That's when my dad, who'd been quiet, spoke up. In a steady, firm voice, he told Tom to be quiet and said he wouldn't allow disrespect toward me in his home. The room went silent. Even Lily glanced up. Amy tried to backpedal, saying it wasn't about disrespect but about feeling abandoned. She accused me of tossing them out when they were still trying. Of giving up on them. I didn't bite. I just watched them. Tom, arms folded, playing the victim. Amy, the wounded hero, and Lily, the only one I felt sorry for, a kid stuck in this mess. Then, without planning it, I said they couldn't stay at our parents' either. I said it was time they acted like adults and figured it out. I told my parents they were enabling the same cycle I just ended. They had to leave. Amy went pale. Tom looked like he wanted to lunge, but stayed put. My mom looked shocked. My dad rubbed his temples. No one spoke up for them. I left soon after, my plate barely touched. In my car, engine idling, I replayed what I'd said. I never thought I'd be the one to say it, but it had to be said. For 2 weeks, I grappled with one question. Did I go too far, or was I the only one willing to set limits? But the drama wasn't over. After that dinner, I told myself I was done. No more involvement. I'd said my piece. It was my parents' issue now. But days later, I couldn't let it go, not out of guilt, but frustration. Amy and Tom had settled into our parents' home like it was their next free stay. 3 days after the dinner, I called my mom casually. She sounded drained. When I asked how things were, she sighed. The house was livelier, her code for Tom taking over the living room with his Xbox and rearranging furniture. Lily had tried feeding the cat candy. Amy had claimed my old bedroom as her workspace. I asked how long they'd stay. They haven't said, she answered. That's when I knew nothing would change without action. I spoke to my parents separately. My dad took me to coffee and vented. Tom had taken his car without asking and returned it on empty. Amy was ordering delivery every night, letting food go to waste. Worst of all, Lily had gotten into his tool shed. Nothing was damaged, but the intrusion scared him. That night, my mom confessed over the phone. They'd argued over Amy and Tom blasting the AC and leaving lights on. Tom brought wine into the house, a rule breaker from our childhood, and Amy got defensive when asked to help clean. By the end of the week, we all agreed silently they had to go. What shocked us was their nerve. Amy posted a blessed family photo on social media, captioned "New Chapter Healing." Tom shared a video of himself biking shirtless, shouting about freedom. He's 36. Then came the Amazon packages, headphones, gaming accessories, even a foldable chair. My mom didn't know who was paying. The next day, I got a bank alert. Amy had used my card again, one I'd removed from her access months ago. I canceled it, called her, and said I'd reported it. She hung up. That night, my mom texted, "We're done, but you need to say it again." So I did. On a tense Sunday, I walked into their house. Amy was at the table, surrounded by monitors, earbuds in, like she was running a startup. Tom sprawled on the couch, TV blaring. Lily was sticking and peeling tape off the walls, ignoring my mom's requests to stop. I stood in the middle and said it clearly. "1 week, you have 1 week to leave." No apologies, no softening. Amy stared, stunned. Tom asked if my parents were okay with it. I looked at my dad. He nodded. My mom looked away. The outburst began. Amy ranted about betrayal, my selfishness, my grudges. She said I was envious, which confused me. Envious of what? Tom tried challenging my dad. "You're letting him control this family?" My dad just stared until he backed down. Amy stormed out, came back with a suitcase, and threw it down. "You're okay with this?" she demanded of my mom, who walked away. Then came the line I'll never forget. "You destroyed our lives, now we're stuck with our parents." As if they weren't already there, I just said, "Get out." Tom mumbled something. My dad stood, his quiet signal for enough. He told Tom to be quiet in his house. Lily, unaware, wandered off. No apologies, no thanks. They spent the week sulking. My mom sent updates. Amy gave everyone the cold shoulder. Tom drank in the shed. They left 3 days early, leaving behind garbage, broken items, and a sticky note from Lily. "See ya," in blue marker. 2 weeks later, the house was calm again. My parents seemed relieved. But then the messages and calls started. Distant relatives I hadn't spoken to in years chimed in. Some called me cruel. Others said kids shouldn't suffer for their parents' failures. My aunt texted, "You did the right thing." They're takers. A cousin admitted Amy had burned bridges with them too, but the criticism was constant. Setting boundaries comes with a cost, even when you're in the right. I don't regret it, but I carry a lingering unease, not guilt, but the burden of being the villain for holding firm. Then this morning, a knock. Lily stood on my doorstep, backpack in hand, asking to stay. She'd fought with Amy and Tom and walked out. Calls to them went unanswered. So here I am again. Her in the spare room, me wondering, did I do the right thing? Or am I back at square one, pretending I drew a line when it's still blurry?